People who are able to express their ideas and thoughts easily and impactfully are most often able to influence their audiences. In this video, I give you 5 tips on how you can be an articulate speaker. The first tip is to control your speed. What is very common is people will rush their speaking speed when they step on stage, and this is due to a variety of reasons, namely that our hearts are racing because we feel the nerves of presenting in front of other people. Therefore, we often talk at a quicker pace when we're standing in front of a group of people. Experienced speakers will be able to slow down that pace. And I'm not saying you can never pick up the pace of your speech. For example, if you're telling a story about almost missing your train and you're running through the train station trying to get to that platform on time, of course you can speed up the cadence during that story or whenever it permits, but that should not be your default speaking pace. You should be able to speak with a few more pauses, slower, so that the audience can truly absorb what it is that you're saying, and having that ability to speed up your speech, but then also slow it down is going to have a positive impact on your audience. My next tip is to allow for pauses in between sentences, and this ties into the previous tip of slowing down the pace. But pauses in particular are important because for most people, they fill those spaces where silence would be better suited with filler words. Words like like, and so, but. All of these words are what we like to call filler or crutch words within the Toastmasters program. And they are words or sounds that we make because it can feel uncomfortable to allow silence to happen. If we are speaking, it's tough to just let silence sink in. It feels awkward. But the reality is, it's not going to be awkward for the audience. What can be distracting is when all of those filler words are fit in between sentences instead of the silence. But by being able to allow for silence between sentences, it's going to sound much more enjoyable to your audience. My next tip to being an articulate speaker is to really leverage body language and vocal variety. I've talked about this in previous videos, but the nonverbal communication, the things that we do that are outside of actual words that we say, make up the majority of how a message is communicated. And this can be done through several examples. If I am telling you that I'm very happy, but I have a frown on my face and my arms are crossed, you're probably thinking, Wade, you don't look very happy. Therefore, the body language is speaking louder than the actual words that I say. And this is no different when it comes to speaking in front of an audience or even in one-to-one conversations. The best ways to communicate are to use our body and use our tone to really emphasize what it is we're saying. If we're saying that we're having a great time, we should smile. Our eyes should light up. That should go along with the message that we're saying. Or if we're talking about a more serious or sad topic, we should probably reflect that in the voice that we use and bringing our volume down and slowing down those sentences and making the facial gestures that match what it is that we're talking about. By incorporating not only words, but vocal tone and body language, that will help you be a more articulate speaker. My next tip for being an articulate speaker is to expand your vocabulary. And I've talked about this on a few of my recent videos, but the Toastmasters program has this incredible concept with one of its roles called the grammarian. And the role of the grammarian is to introduce a word of the day to each meeting. This may be a word that you're familiar with, but often it's a word that you haven't previously heard or used very often, and the challenge for that meeting is to incorporate the word of the day in your speech. But whether you're a Toastmaster or not, there are ways you can take on this challenge even on a daily basis. Merriam-Webster has a word of the day function within their online dictionary where each day it will give you a unique word that you may not be familiar with, and I encourage you regularly build this into one of your habits where you check this word and then you try to utilize it throughout the day. By expanding your vocabulary, you will be a more impactful communicator and a more articulate speaker. My final tip is to take a moment, take a breath before responding, especially when this has to do with Q&A, question and answers, after your presentation or in the middle of your presentation, depending where you fit that in. When we're standing on stage and we receive a question from the audience, going back to the idea of being uncomfortable with silence, usually we want to jump in and respond right away. But the problem with that is we need to take a second and truly understand what the question is and think a little bit about our response. There's a couple bonus tips I have for you here of how you can buy yourself a bit of time. One is to repeat the question, which is great because if the audience member doesn't have a microphone, repeating the question will allow everyone else to know what was asked, but it also buys you a few extra seconds of time to think about your response. And another tip is to have water on stage with you, which is a smart tip for any new speaker because our mouths often go dry when we speak in front of an audience. But by having water and having the question asked, we can take that moment, take a sip of water, put the cap back on the bottle, set it to the side, and we've just bought ourselves about 3 extra seconds to think about the question of what's being asked. By taking a moment to really think through what is being asked of you before responding, you will come across as a better communicator. I hope this quick video and these 5 tips on how to be a more articulate communicator and public speaker were helpful to you. If they were, let me know in the comments. If you have not yet subscribed to my channel, please do that because it's my mission to bring you great videos that are going to help your communication skills and really empower you to take your public speaking to the next level. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. I will catch you on the next one.